It's the year 2024, and 1% of the richest people on this planet have nearly half of all its wealth, while hundreds of millions are still living in poverty and being paid as little as $2.20 a day. Worldwide extreme income inequality and poverty are impacting social systems, governments, economies, and people. But we can fix this with the right policies and team action. Today, we will be looking at the root causes of income inequality, what poverty does to people in society, as well as what can be done to reverse the global wealth gap. First off, we need to understand what supports income inequality and poverty. So the first source here was in the article World Bank Global Economic Prospects from 2023. And the first main point is the causes of income inequality and poverty. So one cause is education and job placement opportunities. In wealthier families, they are able to afford schooling, tutoring, and other connections far more easier than poor communities, because in poor communities, they don't have access to basic schools or training, which forces children to travel a long distance to go to school and learn. Another issue is or cause is globalization and automation. There is an outsourcing jobs to low-wage countries, which reduces labor costs but leaves many people in wealthier nations without work. Also, machines and AI replace low-skilled labor, which furthers limiting opportunities. Also, wage stagnation and rising costs of living. Real wages have remained flat for decades, even with inflation continuing. And at the same time, housing, healthcare, and education costs keep climbing. Now that we know the causes, let's take a brief look at the impact of inequality and poverty. So, for our second main point, we're going to deep dive into the effects of income inequality and poverty. So, the first point here is limited access to basic needs. Poor families struggle with healthcare, nutrition, and education, which leads to a higher dropout rate in schools, chronic illnesses, and malnutrition. Another factor is social unrest. Higher inequality often correlates with higher crime rates and instability, and people who feel excluded are more likely to distrust the government and society. Also, slowed economic growth. When wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, consumer spending drops. Without broad participation in the economy, growth becomes unbalanced and unstable. So, income inequality not only harms individuals, but also weakens entire societies. But here's the good news. There are solutions that do exist. So my third main point here is the solutions to inequality and poverty. There are several policies and community supported solutions that can help reduce inequality and poverty. I found the following information from the article UN Sustainable Development Goals of 2024. So the first solution is education and training. We can expand access to quality schools, vocational training, and digital literacy. And if we invest early, such as preschool education, it pays off in long-term opportunities. Also, a fair tax system, closing corporate loopholes, and raising taxes on ultra-wealthy individuals helps redistribute resources. Also, the minimum wage and universal service. If we raise minimum wage, then to like a livable level, then that would impact the poor community heavily in a much positive way. And also ensuring affordable healthcare, housing, transportation, and other basic needs so families aren't forced to choose between survival and dignity. In conclusion, we discovered that the roots of income inequality and poverty are systemic, including access to education, globalization, and tax policies. These problems have resulted in social weakening by restricting access to basic amenities, accelerating instability, and slowing down economic process, but we can fight back through equitable policy, better education, and shared responsibility. Income inequality is not just a question of numbers on paper, but a question of justice, opportunity, and human dignity. A more just and equal world is not only possible, it's necessary. For in building others up, we rise.